The Breeders' Cup Classic is here. Let's dive right in. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another edition of the Pick 5 Players Show. I'm your host, Michael Pellerin, a.k.a. Horse Guy Mike. And today we're going to be looking at the late Pick 5 for Breeders' Cup Saturday, including the Distaff, the Turf, the Breeders' Cup Classic, the Turf Sprint, and the Dirt Sprint. We got a lot of great horses here. We talked about the Juvenile Pick 5 the other day with my co-host, John Herco. We have a video coming out for the early Pick 5, which covers the earlier races, the Dirt Mile, the Mile, Filly Mare Sprint, Filly Mare Turf, and the Distaff. So now we're going to be talking about that late Pick 5. This one also starts with the Distaff, so let's go ahead and dive right in there. So Breeders' Cup Distaff is the first leg of this Pick 5. It's the last leg of the early Pick 5, that all-stakes Pick 5. Not to be confused, there is technically an earlier Pick 5 on Saturday that starts with race 1, which is an allowance race. But we got 2 all-stakes Pick 5. The Distaff is that race that's going to be going into both races. So we can see if we're going to be playing it a little bit differently as we go through. I'm going to be looking to kind of spread here. Later on in the card, I've got a lot of horses that I really look to single. So in both cases, in both Pick 5s, I'm going to be spreading in the Distaff a little bit, but I am going to be going against the favorite. So let's go ahead and look at the Distaff first. We have favoritism on the number 4, Idiomatic. I am against Idiomatic here in this spot. And the main reason is that the pace set up for this race is not going in Idiomatic's favor. There's a lot of speed here. Idiomatic's going to go to the lead. Adore Manor might go to the lead. Search Results wants to lead. Randomize wants to lead. You're going to get a hot pace. And we've seen it. We saw in last year's Distaff. We've seen it in a couple other of these main Breeders' Cup races where for some reason just like pace strategy goes out the window and you've got 4 horses all wanting that lead, pushing that hot pace. And Idiomatic gets the lead very easily. She's very fast. Her speed figures are fantastic. You know, if this was a regular race, I think she'd be an easy single. But there's just so much speed here. You look at a horse like Idiomatic who has not been worse than second in about 5 races. And I'm talking just in the entire length of the race. They're first out of the gate, first on first call, first on second call, first one to hit the stretch. She needs to be on the lead. What is she going to look like if she's not on the lead? What if she's sitting back second or third? Or what if there's a hot pace? Will she be able to adapt? We'll see. Horse like Adore Manor, who also gets on the lead, last out, 2 back, sat in second, got to the lead, 3 back, on the lead the entire time, 4 back, on the lead the entire time. Search Results, best race was its last race, on the lead the entire time. So I'm going to look at this race and how can we look at a horse that might be able to sit off this hot pace or maybe close into it. So the first one I'm going to be leaning on is the number 3 horse, Pretty Mischievous. And she's been having an excellent 3-year-old season. As you know, Kentucky Oaks winner. She's only had 1 loss later on in the season. That was a close second, going 2 turns. She's progressing, and we've seen 3-year-old fillies win this race before. I don't know if she's of the caliber of someone like Monomoy Girl, but she's very good, and she's tactical. She's able to sit off that pace, sit about 3rd or 4th, and then power home. She's not going to win by a ton, but I think these horses are going to be tiring, and she's going to be the first one able to make the move because she's going to be the closest to them. So I love Pretty Mischievous. And you see this. Tyler Gaffleone chose Pretty Mischievous. Tyler Gaffleone's been riding randomized. I'm sorry, not randomized. He rode Search Results last out. He's ridden Wet Paint before. But he's choosing to ride Pretty Mischievous. So he has a lot of faith there. I think Pretty Mischievous has a really good shot here. And at that morning line of 8-1, love that a lot. So Pretty Mischievous. Idiomatic's in here. Adore Manor is one who out in California has been doing fantastic. Again, a needs the lead type. So I think of the 2 favorites here, or of the speeds, Idiomatic and Adore Manor are the 2 best of this field. You can look at it 2 ways. Like they're going to tire each other out, or they'll link up front and kind of they'll finish 1-2. So if you're looking to dynamically like look at the race, that's the way to look at it. So Adore Manor, number 5, I will be including just because I've got some space to include someone else on this ticket because I went skinny elsewhere. So Idiomatic and Adoring Manor could include them just as a potential for if this does go gate to wire. I don't think it will. I'm going to look for prices elsewhere. And that's why I'm going to the number 7 Wet Paint, who's the best 3-year-old closer. Finally having a resurgence. She was the favorite going into the Kentucky Oaks. Last out in the Alabama, she lost to Randomize. Randomize is another one of those, front-running style horses who's also very good. But 2 back in the Coaching Club American Oaks, won that race, came closing, was second when they hit stretch, was able to beat that horse at the wire. So Wet Paint is able to close, just like Pretty Mischievous, should be sitting closer than my last horse, and that's going to be the number 9 Clairiere. Clairiere has been kind of declining this year. Speed figures wise, she had a really good start to the season, good first half of the year, and then second half just hasn't been able to replicate that same level of success. 2 back, got a 90 buyer in the Chuvy, 1 back, Personal Ensign, 74 buyer, just wasn't in that race at all. Idiomatic went gate to wire there. So Clairiere, I think, might get a good setup. My only thing with Clairiere is she's going to be really far back, but I think we're finally going to get a good price on her. 4-1 morning line, I do see that floating up even further just because she's not getting a lot of hype anymore. And last year we saw that fast pace in that Breeders' Cup distaff. So Clairiere was able to close into that. So we've got Wet Paint as a mid closer, Clairiere as a deep closer, and then Pretty Mischievous, who's going to be sitting off the lead. I'll go ahead and throw Idiomatic and Adoring Manor in there in case they're able to go gate to wire. So, and I'm going deep here. I wouldn't necessarily want Adoring Manor or Idiomatic just based on their short prices. But I've got 2 singles in this card that I really like. And the Classic, I'm only going 2 deep, so I will spread a little bit here just to make sure we get past this first leg. Next up, we've got the Breeders' Cup Turf. We've got 13 horses lining up to take on this turf. We've got a lot of great Euros in here. We got Up to the Mark and More Like Goddess, who have both been pretty good here in North America. But I'm singling the monster horse here. This is the number 9 horse, Most to Death from Ireland, 5-2. This horse has just been very good all year long. One of the best horses in the world. And they've been very intentional about where they want to run this horse. They ran at Royal Ascot. They ran in Dubai. When they ran in that Dubai Shima Classic, they ran into probably the best horse in the world, which is Equinox. Just wasn't able to close into it. Came back in that Prince of Wales at Royal Ascot. Did very well there. They were looking for another race right after that. There wasn't one that fit their style anytime close. So they went to the Juddmonte, won that race on that firm turf. So seems to like that good firm turf better than the soft turf. I think they were in a race a few weeks ago, entered. Track was soft, so they scratched. They want that firm turf. Santa Anita is going to be perfect for him. Been very intentional all year about running consistently in races that they're well spotted in. They ran in the Juddmonte, which is a win and you're in. So showing up here, having that confidence level, I think Most It Off is going to be a monster in this race. I prefer Most It Off over the other big European shipper, which is Auguste Rodin, who's going to be getting a lot of money. Which one of them is going to end up going off the favorite? I think Most It Off will. But I think the morning is pretty accurate. You're going to get something like 5-2, maybe 3-1. It's because there's so many good horses here. Auguste Rodin's very good. I just think Most It Off's a little bit better. Auguste Rodin won the Irish Champion Stakes. That group won there. At Ascot, didn't like that soft ground back in July. So it's kind of hard to make a choice between the two. I'm going with Most It Off. Up to the Mark is also very good. We saw his his return after that long layoff at Keeneland. Had a very impressive performance there. Wasn't a large margin, but it was enough to look impressive. Speed figures have been there all year long. More Like Goddess is not one that I'm interested in. She had kind of a strong start and then kind of a middling finish. And she bounced back last out with the 105 buyer with an impressive 4-length victory in that Turf Classic and Aqueduct. It's just going to be too deep of waters here. If you like her, 12-1 is going to be a great price. King of Steel, who just won that race that Most It Off was supposed to be in at the Champion Stakes at Ascot. I just think it's a quick turnaround here. They were entered in the Classic too, but they were going to the Turf. So King of Steel, especially at 4-1 off of, I think, like a 2 or 3 week layoff and a huge ship where this wasn't the target. Not what I want to be working with. So singling most of it off here in leg number 2. Moving on to the Breeders' Cup Classic, 13 horses entered. We already have our first scratch. The number 1, Archangelo, is scratched. So we've got 12 horses for now. I'm going to be keying around 2 horses in this race, and they're both 2-year-olds. The first one I'm going to be keying in on is Arabian Night, the morning line favorite. And I know a lot of people were confused about that morning line, saying, like, how is Arabian Night the favorite over someone like Archangelo or even, White Abario? Arabian Night's going to take money. He's Bob Baffert in Southern California, coming off of open victory in the Pacific Classic. So Archangelo, who is not in this race anymore, had never faced open company and only faced 3-year-olds. Same with Saudi Crown, same with Dreamlike. It only faced 3-year-olds. Arabian Night has already proved himself against older horses. Only 4 starts. That first start in that Pennsylvania or that Haskell off the layoff, didn't win, got 3rd place, but followed it up with the Pacific Classic win. His Brisnet figures are right there at the top. 107 is the second best in this field behind Dreamlife and Saudi Crown, who both got a 108 for that last race. His Beyer speed figure, hold on, I think he's got it's not as impressive. I think he had a 101 Beyer, but Time Form and Brisnet both have him at the top. And he's only raced 4 times, which would make him the lightliest race classic winner of all time, I believe. I think Flightline had 5 or 6 last year. So that's kind of a knock against him, but he's shown he can win here in Southern California against older horses. And with no one else really impressing me in this field, I'm going to go with him. I just don't want to get beat by Baffert. It's happened too many times. I lost to Authentic. I've lost in the Santa Anita Derby. I've lost in the Preakness this year to National Treasure. So I'm just going to go ahead and ride him for once and hope that he gets a good setup. There's not really a lot of horses here who are going to want that lead, except for the other horse that I'm going to be keying in around, and that is Saudi Crown. Saudi Crown, I've been a big fan of this horse all year long. He's been doing everything right and just hasn't won a lot. He came in that Dwyer, got a 106 Beyer, lost by a nose to Fort Bragg, who's pretty good. Stretched out in that Jim Dandy, again, lost by a nose to Forte, who, as we know, is very good. There was some jostling in that race, some questionable riding, but it was great. It was a great performance. Followed that up with a really impressive Pennsylvania Derby. Again, 105 Beyer, 108 Brisnet, highest Brisnet in the field, and beat Dreamlike. Went gate to wire, was able to hold off that late runner in Dreamlike. So I see this race shaking out with Arabian Night and Saudi Crown getting to the lead. Saudi Crown's got a little bit of a better setup here at the 6th spot. Arabian Night's going to be coming in from the outside in that 12 post. So look for Saudi Crown to probably be in first, Arabian Night in second as they go around. I don't see them hooking up to set super fast fractions. I don't think they're going to go, 46. They'll probably go, 40, 47, 48. And I think the 2 of them are going to be the top 2 at the stretch. They're going to go home. There's going to be too much left in their tank. A horse like White Abario, who had that monster Whitney, I just don't think shipping across the country after a 90-day layoff is going to be great for this horse to completely fade. Would have liked Archangelo here with his style, but losing out here. And then as my hat, Go Rocket Ride would have been my top choice in this race. We're really, keeping Go Rocket Ride in our thoughts, who had that injury and is going through surgery to recover. So hopefully he can make a recovery. Hate seeing that. Love that horse. Always going to be repping this hat on Saturday to show my love for that horse. The only other horse here even worth mentioning to me would be the Japanese horse, Usbu Tesori, who I'm just against. He hasn't shown me anything to say like this horse isn't worth winning. And the Japanese contingent has come over the Breeders' Cup and won in the past. They're going to have to prove it in the Classic before I'm going to follow them. Marshall Lorraine, who won the Distaff, got a perfect setup that year from a pace perspective. I'm much more likely to choose one of their turf racers. I think it was either Love or In Love. I know they both ran the same year, who did great. So just gonna fade him. Maybe he'll come back and win, and I'll be super happy about it. But we'll see. But going 2 deep here, number 6 Saudi Crown and the number 12 Arabian Night. Next race, leg number 4, the Breeders' Cup Turf Sprint. We've got 12 horses sprinting on the turf. This is the one I'm going deepest in just because I can. I had single, I had 2 in the last race, and I'm singling in the last leg. So essentially this race, I'm picking the entire field, not quite going all, but I had the budget to spend. I'm going to use it. We'll still talk about my thoughts here. Big Invasion, 15-1. Has had some good performances. Last out, got a 98 buyer at that the Arctic at Woodbine. So all these horses, all these American horses at least, have had similar buyers and Brisnets their last out. So they're all coming off wins. They're all coming off similar buyer speed figures, and they all have different styles. So a horse like Caravel might get the lead. A horse like Big Invasion might come from off the lead and come with a big run. But it's hard to differentiate them. And even Caravel, last year's champion, who has been pretty short priced all year long at 5-1, it's a worthy price. So I'm going to go Big Invasion first off. I think he's been improving. Coming back with the win, was really good last year, and then this year just has been running into some tough competition. Hasn't performed well, but I think if anyone's got a shot, he does. Last year, Caravel won at 40-1. This race is always a crapshoot, so I'm going deep here. Going Big Invasion. I am including Caravel. Last out, 92 buyer, lost. 2 back in the Troy, 91 buyer, lost. But if you take out those 2 races, its last 5 or 6 in a row have all been victories, have all been triple-digit buyers. Caravel could throw that performance back up. We'll see if he's able to, or if she's able to get out front and kind of avoid mess. Last race, she was kind of third place, got up for second, lost by a neck, just couldn't quite make it. So hopefully she can break from the gate a little bit better and get a better position. Next one I'm going to be including is the number 5 horse, Live in the Dream. And this is what everyone essentially says is the best Euro shipper for this race. 9-2 morning line favorite. Ran last out at Keeneland and at Woodford. Lost to Arzak and Beer Can Man. But first race in North America. You got to get used to that style of running where you're not just running in a straight line. Before that, came off a win at Northrop in a Group 1. Adam West shipping over. Kind of a new shipper for the Breeders' Cup for the Euro contingent. I think he's impressive. I think he got that race in North America under his belt. He's been here for a while now. Should have a chance to go home. And again, going deep here, if I needed to go skinnier, I'd probably fade him as a weaker favorite. But I just want to kind of get through this leg. So moving on, I'm going on to the number 7 horse, Nobles. 99 last out, won by a head. 98 2 back, got second. 99 3 back, got first. Had that big surprise on, I believe it was the Kentucky Derby undercard. 6-1, kind of a shorter price. But again, if anyone has a chance here, it's him. He's also one who wants to get to the lead and kind of go there. We might set up for a hot pace up front of a horse like Nobles and Caravel, lock up. Might set up for Big Invasion, might set up for Live in the Dream. Who knows? Moving to the outside, Aesop's Fables, 12-1. Aidan O'Brien, Ryan Moore, whenever you see that on turf, it's always one that you've got to kind of consider. Third last out at Longchamp in France, only third back by a length. And again, they're running in straight lines over there. It's a little bit of a different style. This horse hasn't won in a long time, but 12-1, this horse is going to float up even higher with how many horses there are on this race. Currently the second longest shot in the field. I think it's worth adding. Same kind of the outside. Roses for Deborah. The 9 horse, 82 last out, just completely draw a line through that. And then you go 2 back in the Smart and Fancy, got a 102 buyer, won that race by 3 lengths. Very impressive. Christophe Clement, Irad Ortiz, they lock up all the time for these Breeders' Cup races. So I'm trying to get a huge price here, get them home. The one that I do like the most in this race is the number 10, Motorius. And when this card initially came out, Motorius was the one I kind of wanted to key around, depending on how the rest of the cards shook up. Didn't end up needing to be where I needed to key in on this race just because I had stronger opinions elsewhere. But he's won, 5 out of the last 7 races here, all in Southern California. Last out in the Green Flash at Del Mar. We got a 103 buyer, won by almost 2 lengths, 2 back, got a 101 buyer, 3 back, 102 buyer. This horse is doing everything well. Flavian Pratt, Phil D'Amato on turf in California. It's hard to beat. You say the same thing for Chad Brown on the East Coast. Phil D'Amato is your turf equivalent out west. So Motorius is what I would key around. In my exotics, I'll probably key around Motorius, Caravel, and Big Invasion will be my 3 that I'm going to be keying around for my exacta and trifecta boxes. So Motorius, big fan of that one. Then all the way to the outside is Arzak. Arzak's that one that beat Live in the Dream 2 back, or 1 back in that Woodford at Keeneland. Got a 101 buyer, 1 by 2 lengths. Was fairly impressive. Just surged down the lane late, kind of swung the outside. So again, if we end up getting a fast pace, I think Arzak, especially breaking from the outside where he's going to be clear of traffic, should be able to come home. So maybe another one to key in our exactas and trifectas. So for this race, 1, 3, 5, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12, essentially getting the whole field, because the last race, I've got another single that I want to key in around. Moving on to the last leg, race number 5, the Breeders' Cup Sprint on dirt. Field of 9, small field, disappointing. Not a lot of great runners here. Usually, you know, there's a huge favorite. You got Matole, you got Jackie's Warrior. And they don't always necessarily show up and perform well on the huge days, but they're there. Someone we can rally around. And for most part of this year, it was Elite Power. Elite Power was the elite sprinter. He lost last out to Gunite. Gunite finally was able to flip the tables on him. But I think Elite Power just, you know, had that clunker up. A lot of these sprinters have had one clunker and then they bounce back. Matole had one. I believe it was the Vanderbilt at Saratoga that he lost, fired back in the Breeders' Cup for an absolutely incredible win. So Elite Power has had, I believe, like 8 or 9 straight wins. And that second place was his worst one, where he just wasn't able to close into it. Gunite just had, you know, the race of the day. But Elite Power is going to be inside of Gunite. I don't think Gunite's going to be able to get an easy lead like he kind of did last time, where he, you know, in that forego, where he got to the lead and just kind of ran it his own way. That's not going to happen this time. And Gunite lost last out into Nimitz class in that Parks Dirt Mile. So maybe Gunite's on a downslope. He had that one day. I'm singling Elite Power. I don't think there's any other horses here who have a shot. I mean, the Chosen Vron is kind of a fun horse for like a Calbred who's been running in those like Calbred restricted races. Finally ran into Bing Crosby and won. So I'd be happy if he did it. I won't be including him in my ticket because I don't think he's ran against a lot of great competition. Same with Dr. Scheibel, who's put up some big speed figures in random races, but last out just got embarrassed by the Chosen Vron. Not going to be including them. Hoist the Golds had some interesting races this year. Speedboat Beach could be dangerous. Last out got a 103 buyer, lost to Dr. Scheibel. So losing to Dr. Scheibel is not that impressive to me. I don't like Dr. Scheibel. I don't like Speedboat Beach. I think Elite Power is going to be the elite horse in this race. And they're all going to kind of tire out each other. And Gunite's going to be able to come from off the pace and win this race. So here is my ticket. The distaff, we're going 3, 4, 5, 7, 9. Turf, we're going 9. Classic, we're going 6, 12. Turf Sprint, 1, 3, 5, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12. Singling the 8 in the last race. That's a $40 ticket based off of a 50-cent base. Good luck to everyone this Saturday in the Breeders' Cup. We have our other videos up on the channel. We've got the Juvenile Friday Juvenile Pick 5 up. We will be releasing the early Pick 5 video as well. So stay tuned. Make sure to like and subscribe. Follow me on Twitter @HorseGuyMike, @TrustTheProfits. Take care, everyone, and good luck for the Breeders' Cup.